Okay, good evening. We're up to a new Rabbi Yishmael. It's very interesting to note that this parak, if you look at Mishnayos, is parak Yud, and in Mishnayos, this parak is El Menachos Nikmatzos. Over here in the Gemara, it's a question where in placement. It's interesting. In Mishnayos, it's in the 10th parak. Here, it's the 6th parak. It really concerns the Ketziras Omer. I'll just read to you a few psukim. Daber from Vayikra Chav Gimel. Vayidaber Shlomo Moshe Lema Daber Bnei Yisrael Matalem Ki Savo El Eretz Hashanina Silachem. When you come to Eretz Yisrael, Uketzatim Es Ketzira. You'll cut your Ketzira. Ve'evesim Es Omer. You'll bring an Omer. Reishis Ketzirchem. The first of your cuttings Elakai. Now the first thing that grows in Eretz Yisrael after the winter crop is the barley, fellas. An Omer, interesting enough, is an Isarin. An oimer is an isaron. Be aware, an oimer is an isaron. It's synonymous, right? It's synonymous. An oimer is a asira se'efa, and isaron is a tenth. It's a tenth of an efa. So that's an oimer. V'heinev es oimer fnei Hashem. Right? We discussed tenufa that it requires tenufa. Mi machras haShabbos. This is a very crucial point. Machras haShabbos. The tzedaikim learned the day after Shabbos. Their shvuas is always on a Sunday, because according to the tzedaikim, we say Menachos Shabbos the day after what? After Pesach, which is Tes Zayin. So it'll always be on Tes Zayin, and Shnei Yisraelim Soiles B'Lov Hashemen Lechem Koli V'Karmel Leisoklo Etzem Hayom Hazeh. You're not able to eat the new crop until you bring it. Usvartem, you'll count 49 days, right? And then you're going to bring the minchas, the Shnei Lechem, and we know that that's going to matter the Chadash. Again, I apologize for being out of it. I'm telling you, I didn't drink, I didn't take anything.
All that happened is you got a haircut.
Yeah, that's what happened.
A little light on the head.
Yeah.
Too much off the top.
Oh man, it's like 3 weeks of pent up.
Have more saved up.
Okay, so Bez Hashem, interesting. Not so easy. Amid Aleph, great Amid Beis. We begin the new parak on Samech Gimel Amid Beis or Bishmol Omer. Omer Hoyaba B'Shabbos. First of all, it's a carbon tzibor, fellas. It's a carbon tzibor. It's Doicha Shabbos. So if Tesayim falls out on Shabbos, you're going to bring the Omer, and you're going to cut it. Let's say you're going to even cut it on Leil Shabbos. You'll cut the Omer if it's Friday night to cut it for the next day. And where do you bring this Isarin from? Mishalosh Sayin, from 3 Sayin. 3 Sayin is an Ephah, and this is a tenth of an Ephah. So you're going to start off with 3. You're going to process it. You're going to sift it, and from 3 Sayin you're going to go ahead and get an Isarin, a tenth of a Sa. But Rabbi Chanina Sagana v'Chancham Moimim Echad Shabbos v'Echad Chayil, right? Rabbi Shmuel says on Shabbos, I'm skipping. I don't know where I am. Rabbi Shmuel Oimer Hoya Shabbos Mishalosh Sayin uBechayil Mechamish, and Chayil from 5. Now, fellas, if you start off with 5, it's going to be a more finer product because you don't have to pound it so much to get out your product. You want a tenth of this, right? So if you're starting off with 5, to get an isarin is much easier than if you're going to pound out 3. So Rabbi Yishmael is of the opinion on Shabbos 3, during the week 5, and that you're going to get your isarin of what of flour for the mincha. The Chachamim Maimim Echad Shabbos v'Echad Chol Mishalosh Hayaba. Chacham said whether it was Shabbos or Chayil, Mishalosh Hayaba, it came out from 3. It came from 3. Okay. Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahana Maimer b'Shabbos Hoye Niktzar b'Yachid u'b'Magol Echad. On Shabbos, if you had to go ahead and cut it, you cut it with one individual, with one sickle, u'b'Kupa Achas in one box, u'b'Choyel b'Sholosh with 3 people, b'Sholosh Kupos 3 boxes, u'b'Sholosh Magolos and 3 sickles. V'Chachamim Maimer Echad b'Shabbos Echad Choyel b'Shloisha three people, b'shalosh kupos, three boxes, b'shalosh megalos. They're going to see that the reason why they wanted three people is to publicize it, to bring to bring publicity to it. So on Shabbos, according to Rabbi Chanina Sgan Kahanim, you don't want to publicize it. You want to minimize Shabbos, the Chilul Shabbos. Whereas the Chachamim, they said no. The Chachamim said it's better to go ahead and publicize it, and even despite you being Machal Shabbos. So the first part of the share, we're going to focus on the Machloikis about Rabbi Shmuel 3 and 5 versus the Chachamim who say what? Who say 3. Okay, now Bishlei Marabanon Kasavri Isaran Mufcha Mishloisha Sayinasi, that you can get a good product from 3. There's no difference. It's straightforward. You can El Rabbi Shmuel Mike Savar. What does he hold? Ikasavi Sarin Mufcha Le'asi El Machamesh. If he holds that you're only going to get a quality of an Isarin from 5, I feel b'Shabbos Nami. We want a mufchid carbon, so carbon. So it makes sense to say, like the Chachamim. Obviously, if they make this distinction between Shabbos and Chayil, you can get a fine product from 3. But Rabbi Shmuel, who says 3 on Shabbos and 5 during the week, if it takes 5 to get a fine product, then you should have 5 on Shabbos also. And if it takes 3 to get a fine product, then you should have 3 during Chayil. In other words, what's this shita of the lack of similarity in the amounts? So I feel b'Shabbos Nami, and even Shalosh Asi I feel b'Chol Nami. Amar Rav, and the following. Kasav Rabbi Shmuel Yisarim Mufchar B'Loi Tircha Asi Mechamish B'Tircha Asi Meshalosh. He holds that a fine Yisarim you get with 5 without much Tircha. Again, it's a large amount, and you don't have to pound, and you'll be able to go ahead and get from 5, you'll be able to do it with ease. With 3, it takes more effort. B'choil, ma'isinin mechamesh, the hachish shvicha milsa, because it's a better product. B'Shabbos mutuv sheyarbe b'melacha achas b'harkada v'al yarbe b'melachis harbe. In other words, I could get a product from 3. I could. But what's going to be involved? What's going to be involved? I'm going to have to cut more. I'm going to have to harvest more. I'm going to have to grind more. Why? Because I'm going to get 5 is 2 more than 3. So I know I'm able to do Mechal Shabbos, but I'll limit it to what? To sifting. I'll limit it to 3. The harkada to 3, where it's because I'm going to have to work very hard. 5, I would get these so much easier. With 3, I'm going to have to sift and sift and sift. In other words, you're going to have to reprocess it again. So go through that process many times in one melacha rather than increase the amount of Chil Shabbos by having to get 5.
You have to harvest more.
If you needed 5, right, so you'd have more melacha. You'd have to harvest more in the whole process.
That's why you limit it to 3.
Yeah, that's why it's limited to 3. Now, 3, there's also a downside. You have to work harder than 5. 3, you have to work harder than 5. But again, it's only one thing. That's the shita of Rabbi Shmuel. That's the shita of Rabbi Shmuel. Okay, Amar Rabba. So now, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to say that Rabbi Shmuel clearly holds better to limit Chil Shabbos. That's what he holds, right? Take 3, do 1 malacha rather than 5, which you're going to do more malacha. So we're going to have 3 attempts to say that other people also hold to limit the chilul, to limit chil Shabbos, and they would be in the shita of Rabbi Shmuel. Good. And we're going to have three interesting gemaras. So Amar Rabba, Rabbi Shmuel, Benoy Shal Rabbi Yochanan Broika, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shmuel, the son of the Rabbi Shmuel ben Broika. I saw that the Shinatu says this is Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, fellas. This is the famous kohen, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. That's the way the Mishnamton learns. And Rabbi is of the opinion that our Rabbi Shmuel says 3 that you limit Chil Shabbos, and it agrees with Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yochanan Broika. The Amud Avrecha, they say the same. Now, guys, is the Korban Pesach Doicha Shabbos b'Moed it's Doicha Shabbos. It's Doicha Shabbos, right? Cooking you'll cook it afterwards, right? To eat it, but to shecht it and to take out the imurim will be Doicha Shabbos. Now, in taking out the imurim, I can limit the Chil Shabbos. I'll cut up to the space. You're skinning the animal, which is usher. So you go to the spot that where you can go ahead, cut the chest, remove the emurim. Now, can I complete the process? So if you hold, you limit it because of Chil Shabbos. You do as much as you can. If you hold that, you go the whole. I said, go the whole way. You go the whole way. So here's the discussion. The Tanya. The 14th day comes out on Shabbos when you have to bring the carbon Pesach. Mafsheres Pesach. You go ahead and skin the Pesach out of chazah till the chest. That in other words, you'll be able to go ahead and at that point in time you would be able to extricate the emurim, but beyond that you don't do. And the Chachamim of the opinion, kula, you do the whole thing. Miloy Omer Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel v'Yechon Breika Hasam Kalhecha de Ev Shaloi Tarchinon. Over there, as much as we can, not to trouble ourselves, we can, and therefore we limit it to when you're going ahead and eviscerating the imurim, we're limiting it to what? To the amount that you cut. Hachanami over here as well, he would agree when it comes to 5 or 3 that you do the 3 because you're limiting it because 5 is going to be more Chilul Shabbos. Hachanami here by us, Kivin de Efsha, since it's possible to do 3 with 1 act, Loi Tarchina to do 5 with more. So again, Rabbi Shmuel we're going to say Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yishmael ben Oishel and Breika hold the same thing. Says Gemimai, Dilma perhaps not. Ad kan loy come Rabbi Shmuel hacha. Rabbi Shmuel over here by what? By 3 to 5. Ella deleka bizayin kachim. You know why? He says that you can go right. He says you don't have bizayin kachim over here. What do you have? It's just a matter of more work, but it's not gonna in any way, shape, or form affect the bizayin of hegdish. To have an animal half skinned down rather than fully skinned is a bizayin. It looks like nevela. That's how they would treat nevela. So maybe Rabbi Shmuel would not agree with Rabbi Shmuel ben Broika. He would agree with the Chachamim that you skin it the whole way. He would agree that you skin it the whole way. Why? Because to leave it in this half state, half skin with a hole coming out, not. So therefore, don't say, you're not locked in to say they're holding the same thing. They don't necessarily hold the same thing. Right? Aval Hassam, the Ikka B'Zayin Kachim, over there by the Karm Pesach, there's the B'Zayin Kachim, Eimal Chak, Rabbanan Svirlei. Maybe they hold like the Chamim that you finish the skinning process. In other words, we thought that they both agree that you limit the amount of chilul, right? So therefore, he holds 3, not 5, and therefore he holds up to the chest, right? No. I could say the one who holds 3, 5, there's no B'Zayin. Over here, where there's a B'Zayin, and we agree with the Chachamim, finish the job. So you're not locked into saying the same thing. Now we're going to go the other way. Another way. It's basically we're disproving that they hold the same thing. Inami or else. Ad kan loy kamay Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel v'Yechon Breika hasam. You know why he says you cut halfway over there? El dis avid leit tzarich gavaya, leit tzarich achulei Shabbos. Did you finish the job over there? Absolutely. What did you do? You took out the emurim. That's what you wanted to do. So what? There will be no need to be mechal Shabbos anymore. Aval hacha. Over here, you didn't finish the job. You didn't finish the job yet over here. So v'tzarich l'chulei Shabbos, and therefore, since it's better 5 than 3, ema k'Rabbanan svirlu. Maybe they hold like the Rabbanan, right? Maybe they hold like the Rabbanan. So therefore, you have no raya. Maybe they hold like the Rabbanan. That 3 is. Maybe, and you have to be Mechal Shabbos. Maybe you only do 3 and not 5. Okay. No, I don't think that's.
Is that true?
Let's see Rashi. Aval Gabi Oimer. You didn't finish the job yet. As of yet, you didn't finish the process that you're in other words, you're being Mechal Shabbos, right? Ki the Omer Rabbi Shmuel, like Rabbi Shmuel himself said, the B'chamesh Shvicha Milsa Tfei, right? 5 is better than 3. Ema, I would say, Kirabanan Svirulei. The army, the B'Shabbos Avdinon, Kol Mad the Boy like Kichayel, the same amount, which is 3, right? Which is 3. That's in other words, I don't have to do any more than that. So you have no raya either way that he holds like either they would agree with that maybe Rabbi Shmuel holds like the Rabbanon, or Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel does not hold Rabbi Shmuel holds like the Rabbanon. because they're over there, since you didn't finish the job anyway, and 3, Bechol works, we work on Shabbos also. Okay, so we failed to go ahead and find someone who holds like Rabbi Yishmael. Ella Amar Rabba, Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahanim Amar Davru Echad. It's very, the definition of Ella is interesting, fellas. No, there's no Ella means like there's a kasha, and so the Ella over here is interesting. You wanted to say that Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Shmuel, holds like Rabbi Shmuel ben Ashur and Breika. You failed. Ella, you want to know who he holds like, but it's not like you just like it's funny, but you're just going back. Oh, I have somebody else who possibly holds like. Who is that? El Amar Rabba, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahanim Amadov Rechad. This is Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahanim of our Mishnah. What did he say, guys? Rabbi Chanina said, 1 man, 1 sickle, 1 box. Obviously, what's he saying? Limit chilul. Not 3-3, not 3-3, but 1-1-1. So the nan Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahanim Oimer b'Shabbos niktza b'Yachid 1, b'Magal Echad 1, and b'Kupa Achas, u'b'Chol b'Shloisha b'Sholish Kupos u'b'Shloish Magalos. V'chacham Moimim Echad Shabbos v'Echad Chayil b'Sholish Kupos b'Sholish Magalos. Mi loy kam Rabbi Chanina Sagana Kahanim Hasam. Since it's possible to do it 1, we're not going to have to do 3. Hachanami, keeping the Evshaloi Chachinon, but also he would agree what by cutting the Aimer that you won't go to do 5, even though it's better, you limit it to 3. Good, guys. It seems straightforward. Yes. Mimai. Now, so what? Now we're going to refute the Raya. Mimai. Dilma. Ad kan loy kam Rabbi Shmuel Hacha el de Pesume Milsa. You know why Rabbi Shmuel says over here you're limited to 3? Because we want to limit the amount of Chilul Shabbos. There's no Pirsume Milsa. There's nothing else except the finished product. All we care about is the finished product. By the Omer also, in the processing of it, we care more about the finished product. We want to mefarsim that what? Not like the tzedaikim. We want to mefarsim not like the tzedaikim. That we want to make public. Guess what? What are we doing? We're going ahead on Zion, where on Shabbos, right? Whenever it is, Friday night, whenever it is, we're going ahead Friday night, and we're going to go ahead and cut the Omer. So we want to make it publicized. Guess what? Guys, you look at the pasuk in the Torah is mashma. Yeah, the Shabbos making us, man. Yeah, that's not small, man. I agree. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, Yitaka needed to offset it. So Memela, that's the 3. So maybe
That's the concept of Apex Lassa.
correct.
3 people is more Pearson.
Yes, absolutely. That they bring it's a raya. It's a raya from here. They bring this as a raya. El deleka pesume milsa aval hasam the ikar pesume milsa over there by the katsira of the omer to bring it. You want to be mefarsim that guess what? Ha 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 ha! It's not Saturday night that we're doing it. Ema kirabanan svirlei. Maybe Rabbi Yishmael would hold like what? Like the Rabbanon. Inami ad kan like Chanina Sagana Kahanim Hasam di bechadi b'shleisha tzarich gavay misabit kil chasa. In other words, whoever's doing it is doing what? Is being mechal Shabbos, doing it for the purpose of gavaya. Aval hacha tleisabit kil chasai. Aval hacha over here by the Omer, since 5 is better than 3, so you're not doing the best thing. By doing 3, you're not doing the best thing. Over here, you're not doing it. Maybe you do 3. Ella, Amar Ravashi, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Omer Davar Echad. Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yossi say the same thing. Now, who's Rabbi Yossi? Okay, guys, they used to outside. They were Mekadesh the Levana, right? They were Mekadesh the Levana, the Moilid. As a fact, the Moilid, this is coming up. It's Wednesday afternoon, 34 minutes and 4 halakim and 13 halakim after 4. What? It's not 13. I'm losing it. It's 34. 4. No. It's 34. 13, 4. It's 34 minutes and how many halakim? 13 halakim? I thought, okay, whatever. I came back. We had Elvis Patterson. Yeah, the other one was easy. It wasn't 13, it was 12. Whatever. Okay, all I'm doing is making a fool of myself. Stop it. Anyway, so if they would, the Aiden would see, fellas, the Aiden would see the Levana, they would come They would come on Shabbos. They would come on Shabbos, right? And outside the Tchum, they'd walk, and outside Tchum. So that's the discussion over here. So Elam Rav Ashi, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Yom Davar Echad. Etnan. Bein Shinira Ba'olo, whether it's seen clearly, where you saw the Moilid clearly, Bein Shloinir Ba'olo, Machan Levas Shabbos. In other words, you don't say, well, 1 second, since it's clear, so Besdin doesn't need me to come because they know, right? Besdin doesn't need me to come since they know. It doesn't make a difference, right? Rabbi Yossi says no. So what do you see? The same thing. So we want to make a comparison between what? Between Rosh Hashanah and then Katsir Saimer. That Rabbi Shmuel limits it, and so does Rabbi Yossi. Says in Ramai. What's the svara why they come? Because if they don't come ba'olo with ba'olo, they won't come shalei ba'olo. They say, okay, we not come last time. Aval hasam the nimsa ata machshil lasalavay by shchaydesh. In the future, you won't have people come to Mekadesh, maybe the whole like the Rabbanon, that bein ba'olo, you come. Inami, I'd come, both sides of the coin. Inami, I'd come like Rabbi Yossi Hassan, Ella deleka tzarech gavaya. Over there, there's no carbon. There's no tzarech gavaya by Kiddush HaChodesh. No tzarech gavaya. There's no carbon. And there's nothing being doicha except that. In other words, you're not doicha anything. The only thing you doicha is that you're walking in from outside. In other words, that's the only thing that is being nitcha, that we're letting the Edom come. Aval hacha, however, by Ketziras Omer, it's a carbon, and Svein Shabbos Litchaisa. Guys, you're being Mechal Shabbos anyway. The question is how much you're being Mechal Shabbos, but you are even when you do 3, you're being Mechal Shabbos. You're sifting. Perhaps you're like the Chachamim. Therefore, we have not been successful in finding anyone who holds the shita of Rabbi Yishmael. And there's no difference. And the 3 places where we want to go find the difference. Karim Pesach and Rish Chodesh, and the middle one, what was the middle one? And with the 3 in the Kasiras Omer, we were not successful. We find Chalukim, and Rabbi Shmuel could be a Das Yachid. He could be the only one who holds 3-5. Okay, the next piece of Gemara, it's brought here because there was a heta to be Doicha Shabbos, and the person went ahead and extended it. It's similar to our Mishnah, where our discussing is you're being Machal Shabbos and you can't do more. Yes, like Rabbi Shmuel is saying, I only limiting you to this. I won't let you do more. So therefore, that's the connection between a Gemara that apparently has nothing whatsoever to do with it. You're going to see it does have something to do with it. So let's say it's Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos, or it's Chol Hamoed on Shabbos, and you're going to bring chatas. You're going to bring a seir lechatas, and you bring 2. Now, you only a heta for 1. You're bringing 2. So that's the commonality over here. You're able to be doicha one is of Shabbos, and you're doing doicha more, right? So what's the halacha? Now, so the question is, you have 2 chatois, itmar, shachat shtei chatois shel tzibur. So again, it's Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos, or it's Chol Hamoed and Shabbos, and you're being what? And you're shechting. Ve'ein it's tzarech el achas. You only need 1. You only need 1. Amar Rabba v'itema Rebbe Ami chayev ala shniya. You be chayev for Chil Shabbos on the second one, upata al rishayna, and you'll be pater on the first one. Okay. Enochinami. You're chayev on the second one. You're contrasting the lashon, and you pater on the first one. Va'afilu nischaper loy b'shniya, and even if you're nischaper in the shniya. Rashi, fellas. For example, shenishbach dam harishayna la'achas shchita shniya. So what happened? You bought the first one and you need the first one, but before you had a chance to do the avodas adam, the dam spilled. So now my first one is a moot point, and now I need the second one. I need the second one. Nonetheless, you're chayiv. The ikalamema lift rilagami. There's a svara to say yapata. Mishum the kamaisa b'shush shachat. The first one you did b'shus. Afagav the soif keeper. Even though in the end it didn't work. Ella b'shniya, you got the kapar in the second one. Ushniya nami, hoylubah kap a keeper lifter alecha. You should be potter. Afilu hachi chayiv ashniya upata rishayna. The boss is shchita azlinan. So therefore, Heshi, now you see your chay. That's what lashon pata. Guys, you hear what happened over here? You got two. He had two. He bought the first one, and as soon as he bought the first one, the second one is going to be chayiv. Even if the first one becomes not good because he spilled the blood, and now you complete the avoid of the second one, and it's going to be a totally good carbon. Nonetheless, you go after the shchita. Since b'shasa shchita, I did not need the second one. It's out. Okay. Now the next line is crucial. Va'afilu nimtza rishoyna kechusha. And even if you find that the first one was less in quality, says Rashi, afilu nimtzas rishoyna kechusha, koidim shchita shniya. Before you shechted the second one, you found that the first one was inferior, right? Ve'ikah mishum hekriveu no lepechasecha, v'shachat shniya, and even then in other words, the lashon of hekriveu no lepechasecha means, would you bring this to your governors? Meaning, it's a pasuk saying that you're going to bring a carbon. You have a choice to bring a very fat sacht of carbon or some darkest stick of carbon, right? Darkest stick, no, thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So hakim no pechasecha, bring the junk, right? So over here you have even if you have the first one is a kechusha and the second one's a shmeina, and you shech the second one, even though it's a better quality, you're going to be chayiv. This is important, right?
So if there was case would be, let's say it's chusha, and so so now, and you bring the second one, you didn't bring the second.
Hang in there. So right now, according to this lashon, if you have a kechusha and you have a second one, if you bring the second one and not the first, after the first one, even though the first one was inferior, you're going to be chayiv. That's what it says, Heshi. Now, umi amar rabba hachi, that last point that you said, that you're going to bring a second one when the first one was kechusha, was dakistik, did Rabbi really say that? Amar rabba, chayilafon of shtei chatois. You have two. Achat shmeina v'aka kechusha, shachat shmeina v'aka shachat kechusha chayiv. If you take the zaftig one first and the second one, then you chayiv. But listen, here's the kasha, guys. Kechusha, if you go ahead and shech the kechusha, so you shouldn't do the second one, correct? V'akach shmeina, potter. You potter. You shechted the first one, and the second one's a shmeina, you potter. We tell him, if you shechted the daka sticker one and you didn't shech the shmeina, we say, go ahead l'chachil and shecht it. Fred the Gemara, how could Rabbi then say that if you have a kechusha and you shecht it, you're going to be chayiv on the shmeina? Rabbi, we say over here that what? That it's not true. We see that is even if you shechted the first one, if it's an inferior quality, you're going to have to shech the second one. So how do you reconcile that? Rabbis seem to say that what? No, even if you shech the inferior one and then you shech the second one, you can be chayiv on the second one, despite the fact that it's superior. It's a shmeina. So it says the Gemara two terutzim into the teretz to the kasha. Iba yisayim esami kechushim ekamaisa. Take out those words. Va'afilu nimtzu rishon kechusha. Take those words out. In other words, there's no way that if you find the first one kechusha that you can be chayiv in the second. Take that out. Iba yisayim hahi Rav Ami amra. That first lashon is Rav Ami. Rabbi never said it. It was Rav Ami who said that what if you shech the shmeina after kechusha you're chayiv. Rabbi would hold no. If you shech the shmeina after the kechusha, you would be potter. And not only be potter, lechatchila we tell him go ahead and do it. This lends itself to a nice kasha. Amalei Ravina Ravashi. Nimtza Rishon Kechusha b'bnei me'ayin. In other words, when you shechted it, but you shechted both. Guys, so what you saw, look, look at me. What you had in front of you were two karbonis. It seemed to you the first one was superior to the second. You shechted both. Then when you opened up the first one, you realized, no, the second one is superior. What would you say? Would you say chayiv because you go after the shchita, or you go after the Maisa. The bottom line is you ended up shechting the Shmeina. Nice shaila, guys. Again, you shechted both. At the time you shechted it, you thought that this was the Shmeina. It turned out not to be the Shmeina. So do we say you go after Shashchita and you chayiv, or do we say you go after the bottom line? The bottom line is you shechted the Shmeina. That's the shaila. Basa Amalei Ravina Liravashi. Nimsa Rishon Kechusha b'Mnei Ma'ayin after the shechita of the second. Mahu. Basa Machshavasa Yazlin, and we go after this Machshava when he shechted both, and he thought the first one was the Shmeina, the Gavrli Surah Kamachavin. He was going to be over in Issa. Right? It's not really wanted this. It's just talking about the Shoygeg, fellas. Dilma Basa Maisa Vazlinon. Or maybe you go after his action, and the bottom line is, if you go after his action, he shechted the Shmeina after the Kechusha, which is the right thing to do. Amalei, says Ravashi, Lav Hainu de Rabba Virava. Is this not a shaila between Rabba and Rava? And we're going to conclude a difference. De Idmar. Shama Shetava Tinek Bayom. You heard that there was a child who was drowning in the sea. Uparish Mitsuda Lahales Dogim. He spread his net not to get the kid. He spread his net to go fishing, which is called sad, which is going to kill you if you did it b'meisim with Edim and Asra. He was going to trap. Vehela dug him, and he was matzliach chayiv. Lahales dug him. If he had in mind to go ahead and bring up fish, Vehela dug him, and he brought up fish v'tinoik and a kid. Now this l'chayr is just like our shaila guys, right? When you went ahead and shechted it, you did the wrong thing. You wanted to go ahead and shecht what you thought was the better one. You wanted to go ahead and trap fish. Ended up, the second one was better. Ended up, you did a good thing. You saved the kid. So now, Rava Amachayev. Rava says you're still chayev. Because since your kavana was not to get the kid, you're chayev. Rabba Ama Potter. Says Rabbi, you're Potter. Now, how's this tushtel to us? Viat kam Rabba loy kompoter ela kivim de shama aminanami daite atinoik. You know what we're going to say when he spread his net? Since he heard about this kid, his mind was on the kid too. But when he shechted that, what he thought was the shmeina, and it turned out in the innards it was kechusha, he had no way of knowing it. So therefore, it's, in other words, Sai Rava, who says Yechayiv in this case, and Sai Rabbi, who says Yepotim in this case, would be moida by the Kchush and Shmeina, you be Chayiv, that you go after the Shechita, because since when you shechted it, you had no way of knowing that what? It was Kechusha because of its innards, you be Chayiv. Avaloi Shama Aloi. But since you didn't hear not, so therefore, according to this Lashon, you're going to be Chayiv. You're going to go after the Shechita, not after what? The Maisa. There's another way to learn, fellas. And that's what I learned when I studied the Gemara. This is what I tushteled. The one that says Pata, you go after the Maisa. The bottom line, you save the kid. And the one that says Yechayiv, you go after the bottom line. You go after it's Shas. Okay. And that's what the Gemara is going to say now. Vika di Amri, Amalei, this is what Ravashi told Ravina. Haima pluktayu de Rabba v'Rava. Not that this is Rabba v'Rava and we can figure out they both hold Yechayiv. No, goof, but that's the Machloikis. That's the Machloikis, the Itmar. Shama shetava tinek bayom. If you heard that a baby was what? Captured, drowning. Uparish mitsuda lahales dagim, and you spread the net to go ahead and bring up fish. Vehela dagim chayiv. Lahales dagim vehelam tinek vidagim. Rabba Omar pata. Virava Omar chayiv. Rabba says you pata and Rabba says you chayiv. Rabba Omar pata while zil basa maisav. You go after the bottom line. The bottom line, did he save the kid? Good. The bottom line by us did he end up shechting the shmeina? Guys, yes. Why? Because you found out kechusha b'meimayin. You found it inside. Bottom line. And Rabbi says Yechayev sil basa machshavasai. His machshava was to capture fish. His machshava was to shech. Right. This is when he says the second one. He had no way of knowing that second one's going to be the shmeina. So therefore, memela. It's a two lashonis. According to the first lashon, everyone will hold Yechayev. According to the second lashon, it's machlokes. Rabbi would hold Yepoto because you go after the Maisa. Rabbi would hold Yechayev because you go after what? You go after the fact of what his kavanah was at the time of his initial action. Shchita versus trapping. I'm a Rabbi. Laila shamdu the Greigris. that this is chayla, you evaluated that in order for him to live, he needs to eat a gaigeris. Yes, they're greigris. Achas. V'rotzu asar b'nei adam. They ran on Shabbos and they brought him. 10 people brought him. Ve'viu asar greigris. B'vas achas peturin. Afilu b'zeh hazeh. Afilu kodem v'hibriya b'rishayna. In other words, these person, when they went out, they want to save the guy, they're going to go ahead and do it. Pekuach nefesh, right? Whether they all come at the same time, one after the other, or even if the guy gets better, beintayim, pata. Good. Boy Rava. Chayla she'amdu l'shtei groigris. He needs 2. V'yesh shtei groigris b'shtei uktzim. And now you have 2 groigris, but they're in 2 separate stems. So in other words, to get to 2 groigris, you're going to have to do 2 actions. You're going to have to cut 2 separate groigris, groigrisos. Right? You have to go ahead. You have two actions. Or the shalosh ba'oiketz echad. Or you have 3 in 1. Now, riboy, guys, on Shabbos, you're not supposed to be marba. You're not supposed to increase. So it's a shaila. What takes precedent over here? The 2, even though it's 2 actions, or the versus bringing that extra 1, which is riboy, or no, or the 1 action of being 1 oiketz rather than the 2. That's the shaila. Okay. Haiminayu masinan. Haiminayu. It says, Haiminayu masinan. Shtayim masinan the chazile, because he needs 2. Idil mashalish masinan. You bring him 3, the kamemayit katsira, because you're going ahead and you are diminishing the amount of times you have to cut. It says, Pshita shalish masinan. It's pashut, you're going to bring what? 3. The adkan like come Rabbi Shmuel Hassam over there in our Mishnah to go ahead and limit the different mat is Ella the chimamayit bachila kamemayit katsira. By being mamayit the amount of eating, you might have katsira, guys. In other words, 5. You're being mamayit from 5 to 3. You're being mamayit the amount you could eat. It's a lashon of doesn't mean eating it, but yeah. Aval hacha the chi kamemayit bachila kamafsha katsira over here, where you're going to be mamayit machila, meaning you're only going to be 2 rather than 3, but you're going to increase the katsira. Vaday shalish masinan. Even Rabbi Shmuel would agree over here. Do the 1 cut and okay.
If you only need 1, they're cold. And you did cut.
So that goes into the shal of Hilchos Shabbos, where if no,
you know what? You have to wait
Again,
for Shabbos.
I'm saying again, whatever you need. Again, beheta for the chayla, then it goes into the whole shal machlokas there in bishul, right? But meya machlokas there, you have to wait b'shoigeg or memezid, other people. It's a whole different, which is all jeopardy right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Says the Mishnah. Mitzvah sa'omer lehevi min hakarev. Right. The mitzvah of the omer is to bring it what? It's to bring it from close by. In other words, when you're cutting. It has all the pasuk says it has to be from Eretz Yisrael. That's all it says. Where in Eretz Yisrael it does not say. It just has to be from Eretz Yisrael. So the mitzvah we're going to see in the Gemara why it's a mitzvah to bring me a karav loy bikar. If it wasn't ripened, right? Hakar Yerushalayim, then Mevina Semikal Makim. So obviously the closest place is Yerushalayim, but if the barley was not ripened, you bring it from any place in Eretz Yisrael. Maisa Shebaha Oimer, there was a Maisa where the Oimer came, Migagos Tzrifim, from a place in the roofs of Tzrifim, literally, Ushtei Lechem, Bikas Ein Soicher, and they brought the Shtei Lechem, because it wasn't ripe, from the valley of Ein Soicher. Okay, from the valley of Ein Soicher. So it says the Gemara, my time, what's the reason? Right? What's the reason it's mitzvah to bring the oimer from something that's close? So Iba Yisema Mishum, the pasuk says Gerish Carmel Takriv. Carmel is a lashon of 2 words, Rachmale. It should be Rachmal. It should be totally soft. And that means it should be totally ripe. If you're going to bring it from another place, you know what's going to happen? It's going to become hard. The wind's going to expose it, so it won't be soft anymore. So, and it'll be exposed to the wind. Via Beisema, Mishum the Aim Avirin ala mitzvahs. And Beisema, Mishum the Aim of Avirin ala mitzvahs. So therefore, what? If you're far away, if Mishum Aim Avirin ala mitzvahs, if you're far away, as you go farther away, you're being marvel al mitzvahs. So therefore, guys, listen. Is there nafkamina? Guys, is there nafkamina? Guys, look. There's two pshatim. If it should be soft. If you're going to bring it from far away, it's going to lose its softness because it's going to be exposed to the elements. Aim avir al mitzvahs. You do it close by because if you're going to pass over them. Okay, says the Briskerov, what happens if you're far away initially? then you have to bring from there. Because aim mavrin al mitzvahs.
Mhm.
But al softness, you'd have to bring from the closest. So that'd be enough to me now. Where you're located. Where the Biskarov, if you're far away, then you'd have to dafka bring from there. But if al srachmal, you'd have to go ahead and bring from the closest. Says the Meister. Okay, now we have Meister. They came from Migegas Trifim, and I welcome you back to Agadata. As Penny smiles. Tan Rabbanan. You guys, we know that in the second bias there was tremendous political problems. The Chashmonoim usurped the Malchus after the Chanukah story. The Malchus was supposed to be by Yehuda. The Malchus was supposed to be by Yehuda, and the Chashmonoim took it over. And eventually, there was not tremendous political problems. So it's discussing. They had a big fight over here. When there was the big fight going on, Hurkness was outside and Rishrabas was inside. Every day from inside they would get the shkalim and they would lower it down. And they bring them up the carbon tamid, they bring them up the sheep. There was a Zakim Echad who recognized the Chachma Yavanis. He alluded to them Yavanis. He told Hurkness, Kol Zman Shasuka B'Avoida, as long as they're doing the Avoida, and you're not going to be successful. Lamacha, the next day, they sent out the money. Shal Shulhem Dinarim Bekupa, Ve'Helem Chazer. Layalenu, they sent up a pig. Kima Shagil Achatzi Chayma, he read to the pig, Nayetz Siparnov B'Chaymes, he stuck its hooves into the wall. Then it's Nazeh Eretz Yisrael Arbameis Parsa al Arbameis Parsa. The Eretz Yisrael shook 400 Parsa by 400 Parsa. Ba'isa Shah Amru, Oro Shagil Chazer, curses the one who's Megadol Chazer, and curses the one who teaches what? His son, Chachma Yevanis, right? Chachma Yevanis, we had this Gemara in Baba Kama and in Saita, if it sounds familiar. So now, why do we bring it in? For the following story, right? And that's, and Shtelechem Yibigas in Seicher. Kimata Oimer, they have a Yodem Ehecha Aisi Oimer. It came time of the Oimer, they didn't know where to bring it from. So Achruse, they called out, do we have any ripe barley? Asu Charsha, came along this Cheresh. This Cheresh, Rashi seems to say he was more like an Elaine, that he could hear, but he could not speak. So came this Charsha, this Cheresh, and Oisav Chada Yoda Igra, the Chada Yoda Atzrifa. He put one of his hands right on a roof and one of his hands on a tzrif. Amlem Mordechai leChachamim said, Mordechai to Chachamim, Mi ikaduchte deshma. Do you have a place that's called Gagas Tzrifim, right? Or Tzrifim Gagos. So what had happened? Batku v'Ashko, they went and they found Kiboy la'Suye Halechem. They found the Oimer. Now Kiboy la'Suye Shtei Lechem leHabi Yadim Mehechel la'Suye. They didn't know where they're going to bring what the Shtei Lechem from. LeHabi Yadim Mehechel la'Suye. So Achruse Machriz Asahu Gavro Charshas came along this fellow. Oisav Yodei Eine, he put his hand on his eye. B'chadi Yodei Asikra, and he put one of his hands what on a mezuzah. Some people on the wall. Amalei Mordechai said, Mordechai Yumiki Duchti Dishma Ein Seicher or Seicher Ayin. So Batku v'Ashko, they went and they checked it out. Okay, so who is this Mordechai? Who is this Mordechai? Look at Rashi. Mordechai, smack in the middle of the page. Mordechai Shahoyi b'Me'ach Hashverosh. This is our Mordechai. Says Rashi, this is our Mordechai. Says Tosfos, second Tosfos in the bottom. Amalu Mordechai, Pirish B'Kuntris, to whom Mordechai Shalai B'Me'ach Hashverosh. V'Tema, who Loimar, it's wondrous to say this, Sheherach Yomim Kol Kach. Fellas, this is the end of Bayis Sheni. Mordechai lived, he'd have to be 500 years old, something. He'd be very, very old. How's it possible to be the same one? V'Nira, Al Shem Mordechai Arishain Hayi Nikroyim Hamamunam Al Shmoi. There were jobs given out. Like this guy was the head of the cruz, and they were given names. They were giving names of the original guy because they had those qualities. So Mordechai is passed down. It began with him, but it's been passed down that this, he had this quality. So according to Tosfos, it was a passed down. It wasn't the same fellow.
More like a title.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Mordechai.
It's Mashma, that was his name that they called him. I don't know. I don't know if it was given that name or I don't know. I have no idea, but it makes sense that, but it's something like that, Rav Avi. So now, so we accomplished what we wanted to with the story, because the Mishnah said that we gigas Tzrifim and Ein Seicha, that's where they put Shelechem and the Oima from. So we accomplished that. But the Gemara continues on. We're going to go to the Mishnah with more of this Mordechai, or what he was able to do. So there were three women. The Aisu Sholish Kinim. They brought 3 nests. In other words, they brought 6 birds. We bring two. So when you bring 2 birds, there's 2 possibilities. It could be the Chatus and Oila. Benji's fun to shake, or it could be what? It could be 2 oilers. It's just hanging around the corner. One day it's going to catch up to us. Yeah. Anyway, so you're going to have either, so it's either 2 oilers or an oiler and a chatas. So Chada Amra, one said, I'm bringing this l'zivasi. I'm bringing it for my. Now a zava is going to bring a chatas and an oiler. For Chada Amra, one said liyamasi. For Chada Amra leoinasi. Sava Mina, the Chachamim who heard this, Lizivasi meant she was a Zava, Mamish. Liyamasi Mamish, meaning she had a very strong flow of blood. And Lainasi, also, Lainasi Mamish is Lashon of Aina. So in other words, they're bringing this as a Chatas and an Oila because of Zivus. However, the Kulu, Chod the Chatas, Chod the Oila, and all of them are bringing a Chatas and an Oila. Amalu Mordechai, Shema, Bizoiv, Sichna. Maybe the first one said Abola Zivasi is she was scared she was going to bleed to death, right? And the reason she's bringing it is a dava, and they're both eyeless. For Shema and the second one who said Yamasi, maybe Bayom Sichna, maybe she was sakana in the sea, and the third one who said what? Ba'inasi, maybe Be'ena Sichna, maybe she was Masakhan in the eyes. In other words, according to Mordechai's interpretation, they were all oilless guys. They were all oilless. What happened? The Kula, oilless Ninu. Batku, the Ashlech, right? And they went and they found that what? Like Mordechai. They went and found like Mordechai. Amar Aleph, V'hainu Ditnan, the Mishnah in Shkolim, that says the people who were in charge of the certain pushkas in the Beis HaMikdash, right? The one that was in charge of Kinim, that was the one that they bought in Torah for Bnei Yaina, Psachia. That was Psachia, and then Mordechai. So he was open. We just said, guy Psachia. He was able to open the words in Darshan. He was able to go ahead and figure out Zivasi, Yamasi, and Ainasi. Anyway, continue on. So says the more big deal. Kula Sanhedrin Nami Yoda B'Shivim Lashon. Sanhedrin also, they had to speak 70 languages. Dam Rabbi Yochanan Eimay Shivim B'Sanhedrin Ela Bali Chachma Bali Mare, prestigious looking people. Bali Koima, tall people. Bali Zikna, who Bali Kshafim, they understood Kishuf because they had to be Zana Mechashepa. V'Yoidim Shivim Lashon. So what was the chiddush of this person? Shlei Sanhedrin Sheimasmi Piyamatugim. They had no 70 languages. They shouldn't hear from an interpreter. Ella the have biyel lishni. In other words, what was the chashibis of this Mordechai? He was Baal lishni. He was able to go ahead and not say knew 70 languages, but he's able to go ahead like cryptically, like we just said over here, to go ahead and take words and jumble them together. Figure out what this guy meant, right? Baal lishni. He was able to go ahead able to mix together l'shainos v'darish v'hainu dechsiv Mordechai bilshon. It says Mordechai bilshon. He was able to go ahead and understand the lashon.
That makes sense that he was in the original
So we're going to say Kapil Tehillim. We'll say, I got to sit down.
That's your part.
We're going to start saying Pei Gimel again, fellas. Shem Ismail Yasaf. Elohim al dami lach al techrash v'tishkadel. Ki hinei v'chayem ayin v'snach nasiraish. Al amcha yari musad b'siatzu al tzfunecha. Amaru l'chu v'nachidim yigai v'lo yisach Hashem Yisraelod. Ki novasa le'yachta b'lecha b'sachraisu. Ahalei adayim v'yishmei le'mayavagrim. Gevol v'amayin v'amalek peleshus niyashveit sar. Gam asher nilba imam hoyes v'yalef in light selah. Asay lehem ki midyon kisesrachi avim menachal kishon. Nishbedu bein dar hoydem en ladama. Shli semai nidivemai karei v'chizei v'chizavachu k'tzamun akol nisichemai. Asher amaru nishalanu es nice alehim. Elohai shisema chalka gal kakashef neiruach. Ke'ish tibayach lava atlahid arim. Kain te defem b'sarechu b'svaschas v'aleim. Malay fnehem koloin b'vakshu shemcha Adonai. Yevoshu v'yibalu adi yachru v'yavedu. V'yedu ki ata shemcha Adonai v'achenu kol haaretz. Achenu kol beis Yisrael. Hanasuna batzara v'shivya. Ha'omdim bein bayam v'bein bayabasha. Amakom mirachem alayim v'yetzem Yisrael v'chom afil liyara. V'shiva l'gula. Hashta. Bagla samkriv.